When an avoidant realizes they destroyed your heart, breaking point of an avoidant partner. When an avoidant finally realizes they've destroyed your heart, it doesn't happen in the dramatic, movie-style moment you might imagine. There's no sudden gasp, no immediate apology, no lightning strike of clarity. For an avoidant, the realization comes quietly, slowly, and often far too late. It starts with something small, a photo of you they forgot to delete, a song that suddenly hits differently, a memory they can't suppress anymore. Avoidants don't process loss in real time. They process it when the silence becomes too loud and the person who gave them warmth is no longer there to soften the edges of their world. That's when the breaking point begins. Avoidants live with an emotional blind spot. They mistake your love for pressure, your patience for demands, your closeness for danger. In the relationship, they push you away thinking they're protecting themselves. They pull back because vulnerability feels like stepping into fire. They sabotage connection because emotional intimacy feels suffocating. But here's the twist. They do all of this, assuming you'll always be there. They believe you'll keep waiting, keep trying, keep understanding. They never truly think you'll walk away. And when you finally do, it begins a shockwave inside them they were never prepared for. Avoidants don't understand loss until it's real. They don't understand your value until it's gone. And they don't understand love until the person who gave it has nothing left to give. In the relationship, they convinced themselves they were better off alone. They told themselves they didn't need emotional closeness, didn't need affection, didn't need you. They created distance, not because you were overwhelming, but because intimacy triggered wounds they never healed. But the distance that once felt safe begins to feel cold. The space that once felt freeing suddenly feels like a void. And the solitude they once craved becomes the prison where their regret grows. At first, they feel relief. Avoidants always do. The breakup or the distance feels like pressure lifting off their shoulders. They tell themselves they made the right choice. They dive into distractions, work, friends, hobbies, anything that keeps them from facing their own reflection. But that relief is temporary. It melts slowly when real life hits them. When they walk into places you once visited together. When they remember your voice in moments of stress. When they try to connect with someone new and realize no one matches your depth, your patience, your emotional warmth. This is the moment the avoidant begins to crack, not explosively, but silently. They start replaying everything they ignored before. They remember your long messages, your attempts to clarify misunderstandings, your effort to get closer while they kept pushing you away. They recall the look in your eyes when you were hurt, the disappointment in your voice when they shut down, the confusion on your face when they pulled away without explanation. These memories don't hit all at once. They come in waves, each one carrying a new layer of guilt. They don't handle guilt like a secure person. Instead of expressing it, they internalize it until it becomes a weight they can't outrun. And then comes the moment avoidants fear the most, realizing you've moved on emotionally, realizing you're no longer waiting, realizing the person who once tried so hard to love them is no longer available for them to return to. This is the moment that breaks them, not your absence, but the finality of your healing. Because avoidants expect you to miss them. They expect you to hold on. They expect you to still be emotionally invested, even if they're not. But when they finally understand that they don't matter to you the way they used to, a panic forms inside them. They can't explain what makes them break is not you leaving. It's realizing they pushed away the one person who actually cared. They realize that while they were busy protecting themselves, they were also destroying something meaningful, and avoidants don't handle this realization gracefully. They might try to distract themselves more. They might attempt to rationalize their behavior. They might even blame you for being too emotional as a way to protect their ego. But quietly, the truth keeps echoing in their mind. I hurt someone who only wanted to love me. This realization often comes at night when the distractions fade and they're left with their thoughts. Avoidants feel deeply, they just feel in delay. They might see your smile in their memories and feel a sharp ache. They might read old texts and feel the guilt sink in. They might scroll through photos and realize how safe, warm, and accepted they once felt with you, feelings they never admitted. And with every memory, the truth becomes harder to escape. They didn't just lose you, they broke something inside you that can't be easily repaired. The breaking point of an avoidant is not dramatic, it's cumulative. It's the slow understanding that the very behaviors they believed protected them actually caused their greatest loss. They realized they broke someone who was loyal. They wounded someone who showed up for them. They pushed away someone who would have stayed. And by the time this realization hits, it's too late. You've adapted, you've evolved, you've learned to live without their inconsistency and emotional absence. But the part that hurts them the most is seeing you heal, seeing you happier, lighter, or simply no longer affected by them. Avoidants interpret your peace as confirmation that they were indeed the problem. It's painful for them, not because they want control, but because they suddenly see your strength clearly. They see what they could have had if they were emotionally available enough to receive it, and it creates a deep, private grief within them that they never talk about. They may come back. Many avoidants do at some point, but they rarely come back as the version you hoped they'd become. They come back confused, nostalgic, and full of regret, but still emotionally cautious. They come back not because they're suddenly healed, but because they miss the emotional safety you gave them. They return because they want the closeness they once pushed away. But when they come back and see that you've changed, that you now have boundaries, that your heart is no longer easy to access, it shocks them. It forces them to confront themselves in ways they've avoided their entire lives. And here's the truth you need to hear. Their breaking point is not your responsibility. Their regret is not your closure. Their pain is not your victory. Your heart was not meant to be a battlefield for someone else's trauma. You loved deeply, you tried, you reached out, you gave what you could. And when they pushed you away, you eventually did the hardest thing. You walked away from someone you cared about because you finally cared about yourself more. In that moment, your breaking point is what becomes their awakening. The avoidant's final realization is simple but devastating. Love wasn't the threat, vulnerability wasn't the enemy. Losing you was, and they destroyed the one heart that was trying to heal theirs. At the end of the day, the avoidance realization doesn't define your story. You do. Their regret, their awakening, their breaking point, those are just chapters in their journey. What matters now is the chapter you're writing for yourself. You survived what was meant to break you. You grew past the version of yourself that kept waiting for someone who couldn't meet you. And now you stand stronger, wiser, and more grounded in your worth. So let their realization be what it is, a reminder that you were not unlovable. They were unready, and you deserve someone who can show up with the same heart you bring to the table. Walk forward with your head high, your boundaries firm, and your soul steady, because the love you gave wasn't wasted. It just wasn't meant for someone who wasn't ready to receive it. Your next chapter begins with you choosing yourself, and that is the greatest power you have.